Hey guys, this is CK at CK Education, and today I want to share a personal story of something that happened to me when I used to work in the government. I'm self-employed now. Of course, I have my education business, but um, I was an engineer for many years, and I worked in the private sector and in the government and so forth. And you probably have had this experience if you've worked in a company for any length of time where you have a coworker that you just don't get along with, or they don't get along with you, or they just hate you for some reason. And this guy is just a jerk, or this girl is just, I mean, just these coworkers that are abrasive and just for apparently no reason they don't like you. Well, I had this kind of guy. Now, I tend to get along pretty well with my coworkers, and I've gotten along. I've had many bosses, managers, supervisors in my career when I was a salaried employee, and I got along with all of them. I got along great. But there was this one instance, and this guy, and I later found out that, when I arrived in the government, in that government agency, he had been there like 15 years. And I just arrived. So I was a new guy. He had been there 15 years, but we both worked directly under the director of that agency. And so, and I had a very good relationship with my director. I didn't think anything of it. I was just doing my job, and I was just, but I later found out that he was sort of talking behind my back, and then he just, and I always wondered why he did that. And it seemed that he thought that our boss was grooming me to take his place. My boss was grooming me to take his place. Not at all. In fact, I wasn't even interested in working in that agency like until I retired. I left after about 6 years. I mean, there was no intention on my part to take my boss's job at some point and to, continue. And it wasn't even up to me anyway. But he had this idea that somehow my boss and I were sort of, he was sort of grooming me to take his place, and he got jealous and like this kind of thing. I thought it was very strange because that thought never even crossed my mind. But I guess he felt threatened. He felt like, man, I've been here 15 years. What do you know? And he wanted to. He was next in line, he thought, and I guess I threatened that thought, which I had no intention of doing, like I said. But anyway, this guy was a jerk, and he was sort of known around the agency as being a little bit sketchy and like cutting corners, and just he had issues. And I heard a lot of stories of his past before my boss came in and straightened a lot of things out. I mean, there was a lot of iffy things going on with this guy, and so he did his work well. He was respected for doing his work well, but character-wise, he just had no respect from anybody. I mean, he just, just one of those guys. And I always thought he was sort of a jerk. And the last day, like when I was leaving that company or the agency, my other coworkers were telling me that he was coming out of his office and he was so happy, he was so happy that I was leaving. And he's like, "Oh man, today's like a wonderful day." I mean, he didn't even try to hide it. And it was my last day, and he just loved the fact that I was leaving. The threat that was to him, me, was leaving, and so hey, I was happy to leave too. Not because I didn't leave because of him, but I mean I was just like, yeah, I'm moving on, and he's happy. Didn't really bother me, but I always thought he was a jerk. And anyway, so I leave the government, and but I still keep in touch with my boss and some people there. And a few years later, I hear that because I knew that he was dealing with some health issues, and I didn't know how serious they were or anything else. But later on, I heard that he passed away. Okay, I thought, well, that's kind of sad, but honestly, I wasn't that sad. I mean, I wasn't that close to him. I didn't have those kind of sympathetic feelings. I'll tell you the truth. I just thought, okay, well, it's sad, but okay, it was just sort of news to me. And so I got emailed this little link, and it talked about, when his funeral was, and a little online obituary and something like this. So anyway, I was looking through that, and I was reading his online obituary, and his family, his parents had created this. And I'm going to change his name, of course. His real name isn't Steve. We'll call him Steve. And on the obituary, it said, our precious Steve, our precious Steve, in memory of, and, they made this thing. That was so strange to me. That really struck me deep, because I never imagined his name and precious being together. Because he was always a jerk in my mind. I was like, man, who would like this guy? His parents probably hate him, like this is what I thought mistakenly. That was very arrogant of me to think that. But when I read that, it just hit something deep inside of me, that, look, he's a guy that may have bothered you. He may have bothered some people at work, but to his parents, he was precious, Steve. He was precious to them. And it made me think of maybe go one step further in my thinking. And I thought, he was precious to God too. Sometimes we get wrapped around in our heads about that person didn't treat me right, and he didn't treat me right, and he disrespected me, and he was a jerk, and all this stuff, and we have these personal animosities or feelings towards people. But that instance there really reminded me that all people are valuable. Not only are all people valuable, even your enemies, even the people whom you may not like very much, probably to somebody, they are precious. He didn't have any kids, so, I can't say what his kids, because he didn't have any kids, would have thought about him. But look, he was someone's son. He was someone's husband. And though I didn't like him personally, that really made me step back and think about that. About the people that bother me, or whom I may not get along with, or whatever. And you might have people like that in your life whom you hate, but you know what? To someone in this world, that person that you hate or not get along with or despise, that person may be very precious to someone else. And that is, when you think of it that way, anyway, when I thought of it that way, when I saw those words, it really struck me, because I thought, wow, he was precious to his mom and dad. And again, he was precious to God. And I momentarily forgot that as I was dealing with him, that who would love this guy? Who would like this guy? This guy's a total jerk. But you know what? He's a human being. And there are people who loved him in this life. And so I don't know why I share that now. I just thought about this, and I thought, you know what, that is something that really, just that one word, coupled with his name in the same sentence, really made the difference. Precious Steve. Precious Steve, I always thought jerk Steve, or, but never precious Steve. And when I saw that, like I said, it reminded me of that. Maybe you're the one being hated by other people, but understand that you are precious to someone. We are all precious to someone. And someone might say, no, seriously, man, I'm not precious to anybody. Nobody likes me. Nobody loves me. Well, I'll tell you this then. God loves you. You are precious to him. And so just like I came to that realization, momentarily with Steve, he's precious to somebody. We are all precious to somebody. And if you think nobody on planet Earth thinks that you're precious, God thinks you're precious, and that is so important. And so I encourage you to think of your enemies that way, as I have sort of learned to do, and I still struggle with loving my enemies. But maybe if you think of yourself that way, I hope you know today that you are precious to God, and that God loves you, and He loves our enemies as well. Just to be reminded of that, I think, was huge for me, being reminded that way. So anyway, I just wanted to share that, and it was just a personal insight into something that I came to a realization of. So anyways, for what it's worth, I hope it was helpful to you. And as always, I really appreciate you watching my videos, and I hope you will share them if you think they're helpful. So until my next video, I hope you stay well.